to share what I can. Okay. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, as those folks that are from that area, if you know anybody from Kentucky, they pronounce it Louisville. And started my life off a little bit unusual to a lot of folks, but to most of us, it's not anything that's too terribly uncommon. My parents were married and then got a divorce, and then came back together, and I was conceived, and they went their own direction. Now, in those days, the thought process on things and how marriages and families and all those things, how the community raised kids, like communities raise kids versus the way it is in the last decade or going back a little bit further. But when my mother had me, she already had 3 other children and did not have a stable income or employment. So she chose to, my older brother was living with his father, which was out of the first marriage, out of that marriage. There were two other kids, 2 other girls that were put in a Catholic church home, and she left me with a babysitter. And I was like 6 months old at the time, and that babysitter became my mother. And she was 65 years old at the time, had 1 leg, and wasn't able to read or write, but knew how to survive and how to love and take care of children in the neighborhood, which she was taking care of a young lady who was 17 years older than myself, and she was the only sister that I knew as I grew up. Of course, she had her own family also as time went on. But this lady raised me, and 13 years old, she passed away, and her son and his wife took me in, and I lived with them, and both of these situations, the room we lived in was no bigger than these 2 tables put together, with everything, all of her belongings from our past life stacked up in the corner, and the 2 of us slept in the bed together, and we survived. Corner had a gross $65, I think, Social Security check that she received every month, and she'd put an X on it, and I'd take it down and sign it and pay the grocery bill, and that's how we made it. Now, this was in a very tough section of Louisville called Smoketown, which had its own gangs and different things that were going on in that area, and if you didn't have any brothers and sisters, it didn't come with a big family, as you can imagine, you were kind of preyed upon, and that's when